everybody. Welcome to another episode of Everyday Strong with Dr. Michael G. Daniels. And before I get into the topic and introduce Dr. Daniels to the forefront, if you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified when we drop a new video. Now, this will be the last podcast episode for 2019. So we're going to take our Christmas break, but we're going to leave you with a good one. And but make sure you subscribe to us on podcasts as well as on YouTube. So Dr. Daniels, welcome to the show.
Good day to you as well, and good day to all those that are enjoying the holiday season so far.
Yes, and it has been a busy one. And I don't know about you, Dr. Daniels, but I've encountered a bunch of crazy people on the highway acting like they have lost all their senses now that the holiday season is upon us.
Absolutely.
I don't understand it, Dr. Daniels. Like, what is going on with people? They just like driver's ed went out the window on right after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess maybe everybody's in a different spirit. Maybe they rather than having the Holy Spirit,
right?
They got other kinds of spirits that are in them,
right? Which we got to, like you say, remember the reason for the season. These people on the highway don't remember the reason for the season. But anyway, so Dr. Daniels brought me a good topic last night. He said, CB, we need to cover this. And if you haven't seen it on the news, former President Obama makes a statement that women are better leaders than men. Mm-hmm. And of course, on the news and all the talking heads has an opinion to share about that. Right. So now we're going to talk about it. We're going to add to that and see where this goes. So Dr. Daniels, what is your opinion? Are women better leaders than men?
I think that it's situational, but in the context of what he said, I love 44th president. I think he was a great man. I think he has a wife that certainly has great leadership qualities, very well educated. However, I have to disagree with him on this one. The context that he was talking about, from what I understand, centered around a political arena, because there was a overwhelming number of women that were recently, voted into Congress, and I applaud them. Take nothing away from them. And certainly, I was very hopeful that we would have had our first female president. But I don't think, and I think it's a fallacy to presume that just because of your gender, it makes you a good leader. I've not seen any evidence to corroborate that myth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, general speaking, speaking in general here, that most people have the thought process that men think logically and women think emotionally. Mm-hmm. So does that have something to do with the statement that, when women are better leaders than men, or vice versa? Here is to me, the interesting thing about that. Women like to say that they are smarter than men. They pride themselves on saying that. They pride themselves on saying, happy life, happy wife. And in other words, in order to have a happy home, the woman must be happy. Man can be miserable, don't matter. But if the woman is happy, then everything is going to be great. Women like to pride themselves on those kinds of statements. They like to say that, we're equal. We can do anything a man can do. If women truly thought that women were greater leaders, it would seem to me, since women are in the majority, that Hillary Clinton would be the president. A very good point.
It would also seem to me that if women are wiser than men, since women are in the majority, and we know that the majority of the women voted for Donald Trump, it would also suggest to me that something is not right with that logic.
Yeah. But now, for that aspect of things, though, hasn't the seat of the presidency become more of a popularity contest versus who can actually do the job?
Well, but again, we're talking about leaders.
Right.
Right? I mean, I'm just saying.
So if that's the case, if women voted for Donald Trump based on popularity, would you want your leader to make decisions based on popularity?
Oh, no.
So even that says something different. Yeah. You know, biblically, and I know a lot of the ladies won't appreciate this, but biblically, I mean, certainly the Bible indicates that men are more equipped to handle those things that we would consider leadership qualities. Now, you know, they can disagree, but I'm just saying biblically, that's what it says. You know, the Bible says clearly that the husband is head of the household. That doesn't mean he's smarter than everybody else. It just says he is the leader in the household. Similarly, if you look at the qualifications that the Bible outlines for the leader of the local church assembly, all those qualifications lend themselves to being a man.
Right.
So, you know, and also, interestingly enough, when Paul was instructing one of his mentees, Paul said that a woman should never usurp authority over a man. In fact, he said, let the women be silent. So, you know, so biblically, it appears, you know, I don't know if everyone thinks God is smarter than everybody else. I happen to think he is. But biblically, he declared that men should position themselves in leadership roles.
Yeah. And as much as I agree with, even with some feminists out there, with, you know, the views that they have, when you go back to the Bible and you go what it says to do, things just seem to work out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so do you want to swim upstream to go back to where you came from, you know, or do you want to swim downstream where it's much easier, life is much easier to do? Like how you were saying, happy wife, happy life. But if it's like, it's the same thing what the Bible is trying to tell you. It's like, if you do things this way, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. Just go ahead and do it this way. And I guarantee you it'll work out.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I'll say this, you know, if you ask the average woman who they want to, given the choice of working for a man or a woman, the average woman will always say, I'd rather work for a man. That's the irony of it. So if women really thought that the best leaders were women, why is it that they don't even want to work for a woman? They prefer working for a man. And they'll say things like women are too emotional, you know, things like that. And that doesn't mean that the women aren't smart. You know, it doesn't mean your intelligence level is not there. But leadership is not always about the person that can, you know, utilize a calculus formula the best. You know, Leadership is not necessarily about who has the greatest grasp of history or who has the greatest, you know, that's not what leadership is about. Leadership, generally speaking, is about being that individual that can pull people together, but also that person that can step out and take the risk and stand by that risk, you know, and sometimes the leader is the one that can take the bullet, you know, and because most leadership positions require you to go into the unknown. If you're not dealing with the unknown, you really aren't leading, you know, you know, you're just mimicking what has already been done.
Right.
And so if I'm going into the unknown, that's the person that can best take the bullet. Yeah. And usually, you know, that's the person sometimes who has the least fear of death, or that person that is willing to take the greatest risk. And oftentimes women are not real risk takers, but men are, you know.
Right.
And some people say it's because they're crazy, but for whatever reason, but a leader has to be a risk taker.
But now, to all this be all fair, right? In all fairness to women.
Sure.
If you have a woman who, on one hand, you say, okay, they're not you, but in general speaking, say they're too emotional, right, to be a leader. But then if you have a woman who is not or does not show emotion, which is my opinion of why Hillary Clinton did not win, she acted too much like a man, you know, for mentality wise. But that's but if that's what society is saying they want as a leader, then you have a female that acts that way, she gets shunned. So it's like a double-edged sword for women to step up to be a leader and have the leadership qualities that we are asking, or society is asking or looking for a leader to have. So if a woman takes a risk, like think about it. If we think about women
who take risk or risk takers, we tend to not look at them in the same light as people who are as women that, that are emotional and staying behind the scenes and doing like supporting their man. We don't look at them the same way.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I agree that it's not always a level playing field.
Right.
I agree with that. But in my life, I've never faced a level playing field anyway. So, the fact that women are systematically, I guess, not given fair treatment. Well, I've been Black all my life.
Right.
So I have systematically not been given fair treatment. But that has not affected my ability to serve in a leadership capacity. You know what I'm saying? And not just a leader of people in my own culture, but in general. Okay. And I'm not saying that all women are fearful of taking risks. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying that if you think about, if you take, for example, a young girl, 6 years old, you take a young boy, 6 years old, and you put them out.
I already know where you're going with this.
Right. And you put them out there somewhere, and let's say they have to jump a ditch that's 6 feet wide.
Right.
And neither one of them thinks they can do it. You better believe the boy's going to try anyway.
Right.
He's going to take that risk and fall in and break his leg. Because, I don't know what that is within us, that innate thing within us, is that we will take the risk. We will do that, which is almost like we want to do what's impossible. It's like that's a part of how we function, for whatever reason. And so what I'm saying is that, in most leadership roles, that's what you need. You need somebody who's willing to take a risk. Because if you're not taking a risk, you're not leading me.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I will say that in that story, that analogy you just gave is very true. And because I have two kids, one now is 7, the other one is 5. And my 5-year-old son will do some of the craziest things possible. And I'll be looking at him like, what are you thinking? Mm-hmm. My daughter, on the other hand, will not do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then we tend to say the words, oh, she is so smart. Mm-hmm. Look at her. She's not going to do that.
Right.
And then inadvertently you say to your son, when you do, why are you acting so dumb? Why are you doing that?
Right.
He's looking up like, oh, okay. But it's like you try to catch yourself and you're not labeling kids, but you just can't help it sometimes. Like, okay. Why? It's one thing to be risky, to take certain risks, right? As men, as leaders. But some things are just plumb stupid that some men do.
Well, I think there's some things that women and men do that are stupid, So, I mean.
So you think because of the law of averages, men do stupid things more than women because they're in a leadership position?
No. I think women and men do things equally stupid. But I think when it comes to stretching the boundaries, men tend to be on the forefront of that. It's like, for example, when you think of making new discoveries in general, right? And new discoveries, who would say to themselves, I'm living in an environment where the average temperature is 80 degrees. I'm just curious. Wonder what Antarctica is like.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that men tend to do. Now, you had Amelia Earhart, who, certainly stepped out and, tried to, circumnavigate the world in an airplane. She didn't make it, but she tried. But that's not the norm. See, that's a rare thing. Mm-hmm. There are some young girls that do some things, but that's not the norm. But for guys, it's the norm.
Right.
It's stuff that they would readily do. I remember when I was, like maybe 7 years old, we lived in a 1-story house. Okay. Now we climbed on top of the house with an umbrella.
Yeah.
And our thought was we could jump off and the umbrella would be the parachute. See, that's the kind of stuff a guy will do.
Right.
Because you'll step out. Some people say you all were crazy, but I'm just saying,
Right.
That's the risk that a guy would take. Now, my sister wouldn't do that. You know, they would look at you do it, and we would tell them, "Come on," but they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't. You know, they just wouldn't go to the edge like a guy would. I'm not saying that's the only leadership quality, but I'm saying when you think about people leading you, that's, you know, you want that person that has a little bit of edge with them, that's willing to go beyond the veil a little bit, you know, to go, as they said in the Star Trek, you know, thing, to go where no man has ever gone before. Right. You know, you kind of want that. And that doesn't mean that men always make better decisions than women, you know. But one thing I will say, that generally speaking, men decisions are less emotional than a woman's decisions.
Right.
You know, they're less emotional. Men are more apt to cheat than a woman. At least that's been my. And I say cheat, I don't mean with another person, because
you mean cheat on the test or something.
Right. Because cheat
on taxes.
Right. Because other things is equal opportunity. Women cheat just like men cheat. But as far as, you know, that idea of, you know, I will do whatever is necessary to get. Men tend to be, you know, more willing to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, that's what you kind of want your leader to do. You know, you kind of want your leader to say, you know what, we're going to win at all costs.
Right.
You know, not that we're going to play fair.
Right. They're thinking about the result, and where some women are thinking about the journey to the resort, you know, to the result.
Process.
Right.
And you know, we want an equitable process. Well, but the man is thinking, no, I want to win at all costs.
Right.
You know, and so I'm just saying, from that standpoint, it tends to sway that way. See, I think that oftentimes when men say things like that women are better leaders, it's because they're trying to placate women. That's what I think. You know, truth of the matter is, you know, I hear Steve Harvey say that, and Obama said that, and people, people. I think that's why they say it, you know, because they may say it, but they don't act that way.
Yeah. Especially Steve Harvey.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so what I do is, because if I think more logically on a certain aspect, I will go to my wife and be like, hey, this is a sanity check on this. Mm-hmm. Am I doing this? Or is my thought process right in this? Because I could be leaving something out. Even if I try to flip, you know, to the other side, look at it from another perspective, you might miss something. You know, everybody has a blind spot. And how we talked about last podcast, you know, making sure that you marry somebody that's there to help you, you know, right. You know, so it's like, okay, make you better, and vice versa. So I guess the question I have is, in order for a person, whether male or female, be a great leader, they have to basically put someone around them that fills their holes.
Yeah, and that's a part of being a good leader. Again, this is not to say that no woman can be a leader. That's, you know, it's far from, you know, anything I would espouse. I think there have been great women who have been great leaders, you know. So, you know, I think at worst case scenario, one should say that there is, you know, there is the innate ability for equality in who can be a good leader. And I think that's a true statement. But the reason why I think men tend to be better leaders is not because women lack the intellect. I think it's a cultural thing that creates leaders. I think our culture creates men to be leaders, and it doesn't necessarily create women to be leaders.
So what's the role of the church in that, though?
Well, see, if I go by the role of the church, then my job is not to create a woman as the leader. My job is to create the man as a leader. And here's the thing. There is not a woman I know of that does not want their husband to be a leader. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. They want a man that can be the leader. They want a man that can take care of things, that can make decisions, that can ensure that they are safe and secure. You know, see, that's the leadership quality. They don't want a man that when something happens, they got to handle it. You know, if that's not what they want. They don't want a man that has to figure, you know, they don't want a man in their life where the woman has to figure everything out. If somebody break in the house, that the husband is hiding under the bed and she got to run downstairs and check it out. You know, that ain't what they want.
Right.
They don't want a man that if something goes wrong in the home, that they have to always make the correction. They want the man to be able to say, listen, let me check on this HVAC system. Let me check on this plumbing. You know, that's what they want.
Right.
So even women want to create men that are leaders because women want leadership in their homes. So as a pastor, if I'm going to do the job that meet the needs of the congregation, especially, you know, because I have more women in the congregation than men, I need to create males who are leaders.
Right.
I need to create young men who are willing and who understand that their role is to be the leader in the household. Their role is to ensure that the needs of their wife are met. And if I'm going to ensure the needs of my wife are met, I can't do that being a follower.
Right.
I got to do that by being a leader.
And you mentioned something just then I always wanted to ask you about, which is the congregation is probably 70 to 80% women.
And for us, 65-35.
Now, I know for a fact that for YouTube that's listening, 100% of the people, because YouTube statistics say 100% of the people that subscribe to the channel is women.
Well, I can tell you this, according to my Bible study, the people that pick us up quickest are men.
Amen.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
They're the ones, when I go to Bible study, first I had on Wednesday night, how many heard the last podcast? I've only had one time that more women said yes than men.
That's good. Now, where I'm going with this is, if it's 65-35, do you have an issue or you have troubles catering your message on Sundays or the vision of the church when you're talking to mostly a female congregation?
No, I don't, because see, unlike some people, I'm not trying to be popular.
Gotcha.
You know, see, that's what I'm saying. So I think people that make those statements are making them because they're trying to sell something. They're trying to be popular. My job is not to be popular. My job is to be truthful. And so the same things that impact women and impact men and vice versa.
Right.
But if I'm going to truly cater to my female audience, I need to help them understand how they can generate a generation of strong men. Because see, here's the thing. Men that have grown, let's face it, in our culture, right? If we are to go by statistics, in our culture, most of the homes are headed by females.
Right.
Right. And I don't care what culture you go to, they always will tell you that the woman runs the home.
Right.
Right. I mean, I don't care what, if that be true, if she's running the home, then if there's a lack of strong men, it's because she taught them to be weak.
That's right.
Because she ran the home. If you got a home if you have a lot of single mothers, right? Then again, that says what? Somehow she probably was not trying to, but she taught them to be weak. So my job as a pastor is to help them understand that even though they were not, trying to teach your sons to be weak, they did. And so what you do is you make it bad for the next generation. So, and it keeps, it's a circular kind of thing. My job is to break the cycle and to help women understand that if you are the single mother, you need to teach your son to be the leader in the home. But what they do is not always that. And I'll give you an example. In most households, if you have two children and they're both say you have 4 children in the household, if you have the oldest is the boy, and the boy is, let's say, 16. The next oldest is a girl and she's 15. When mom goes away, you know who she tells to watch the younger kids? The 15-year-old girl. She makes the girl the leader.
Right.
Right? So the 16-year-old boy has the freedom to do whatever he wants to do.
Right.
When she's cooking Thanksgiving dinner, she pulls the girl in there with her.
Yep.
Right? I'm just saying, she makes the girl responsible, for things. The boy has the freedom. So she created an environment where the boy has not functioned as the leader. So when he becomes an adult, he doesn't function as the leader then either. Right? And then they say about the young, when you marry that guy, you say, he ain't nothing. He ain't this, he ain't that. Well, it's because someone taught him to be what he is.
Right.
So my job is to help them understand that by virtue of you acting or treating your children that way, you create boys who become men who are not strong leaders, but then they want the man to be a leader.
Right.
You see. So again, that's my function. That's why I don't try to cater to the women. I try to educate the women that you need to ensure that your sons are, if you are a single mother, that your sons are not given a pass.
Yeah.
Now,
right now, somebody's listening or watching this, and they're bubbling right now. Right. They're somewhat angry, and I don't know what they would say, but let's say somebody comes at you with a negative attitude towards this type of subject, with women not being as good as leaders, as men, or the way the church is looking at things. What's really your answer to that? Do you just throw the Bible right back at to them, or do you sit down and listen to their complaint and say, you know what, I hear you, but this is what you do?
Oh, absolutely. I listen to their complaint. I certainly will. Let's just presume that the person that's upset is female, because I don't think you're telling me the guy would be upset, right?
Right.
So let's say it's the woman who will be upset. See, that's an easy thing. It's really easy. What do you want as a man? It's just that simple, right?
Right.
What do you want as a man? What do you want your husband to be like? Now, I don't know many women. There may be 2 or 3 in the whole world that might say, I want a man that will do everything I want him to do. And I want a man that when push comes to shove, he cowers down and let me take over. You see, that doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Every woman I know wants a man that will take care of her.
Yeah.
Right? A man that will be the man. Being the man and being the leader is not being the dictator. See, I never said he was be the dictator. I said be the leader. Right? Leaders are the kind of people that create an environment so you want to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true leader. Right? If you don't want to follow me, I'm not a leader. I'm a dictator.
Yeah.
I'm talking about true leadership qualities. And so that's what I'm saying. We need to develop leaders. Now, again, I'm just saying culturally, we push our boys to be leaders more than our girls, even though sometimes we don't necessarily rear them, in my opinion, in the right way. But that's what society has done. Society has pushed them that way.
Right.
If you play sports, you're not taught to be the follower, taught to be the leader.
Yep.
Right? In any kind of sport, that's what you're taught to be. If you're in school, you're not taught to be the follower, you're taught to be the leader. But generally speaking, even if you have a teacher and they're asking people to lead, generally speaking, they look to the guys to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it's a cultural thing that we have.
Right.
So that's why I say I'm not saying the intellect is lacking in women. No, women are very smart. There's no doubt about that. They're very smart. My primary care physician is female, right? My oncologist, who I treasure dearly, because that's the one that makes sure that I'm not dying from cancer. Right. She's a female. I selected her because she's a female. Because I wanted to get the best and the brightest.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But just because they're my doctors don't mean they're great leaders.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. They could be. I don't know. I'm not at that practice. Yeah. Right. But I know they know their stuff. Let me put it like that.
So what you're saying, should we, since we're basically a society pushing the men to be more leaders,
and we should,
but on the flip side of the coin, should we also be trying to train women to be leaders as well? Because if they're stuck in a situation where they're, the single family homes and now they have to be a leader, but they don't have the tools to be a leader.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's yes, you should equip everyone to lead situationally. I guess that's what I would say, situationally. Right. Can women lead a country? Absolutely. No doubt about it. A woman could be president and do a great job. Just like Congress, I voted for female, myself in the past. All I'm saying is that institutionally, when people say women make the best leaders, it flies in the face of history.
Yeah.
If women were the best leaders, they would have been the best. It would have been more of them.
Right.
You don't just go through generation after generation picking the worst person to lead you.
Right.
So apparently somewhere along the line, someone has been saying, I got a choice here. Let's pick this guy right here. I got a choice. Let's pick this guy. Let's pick this guy. Look at a monarchy, for example. Certainly, we know in a monarchy, if you are in the bloodline and you're the queen, you are the leader.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and there's been a lot of good, queens.
A lot of queens. Well, been a lot of queens out now. The leadership is a monarchy, so I can't say they've all been great leaders. What I know is they've been there. They've been queens, right? You think about, and I'm trying to think of her name, but she was the Queen of Spain back during the 1800s. I can't think of her name, but she was a young girl. That was Queen of Spain. By virtue of her being a queen, did that make her a good leader? And she's a teenager.
Right.
Well, no.
But she probably was taught because she was in a leadership position.
Well, she had men around her that was probably making all the decisions of war. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying that. Here's why I say that. If you look at what do people prefer? A queen or a king?
I would say a king.
I know.
Right.
Okay. In chess, you sacrifice the queen,
right,
to save the king.
Yeah.
That's a cultural thing,
right,
that we have determined that's how we think. Usually how you think is based on something empirical. I'm saying usually it is, not always, but usually it's based on something empirical. There's some evidence that suggests something to make you go that way. Again, I'm not saying that there haven't been great leaders. As you said, there have been some wonderful queens, right? Queen Elizabeth was a wonderful queen. There's been some great queens, and especially in our culture, in African culture, there've been a lot of great female leaders. There's no doubt, You think of the Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman, McLeod, Bethune, great leaders, obviously. But that still doesn't say that women make better leaders than men. I guess that's the point I'm making. I'm saying in general, if all things being equal, usually men rise up to leadership roles faster. I know some women will say, well, you just said all things being equal. No, I mean it that way. If they have the same education, right? Same education, the same intellect, usually the man will end up being the leader because men are risk takers. That's what I'm saying. They'll take the risk. They may make a mistake, but they'll take the risk quicker than a woman will take the risk. And usually leaders are those that take risk.
Yeah, I agree. Leaders usually do take risk, and that's the facts. And then they also influence people.
Yeah.
So they're, usually a leader is very good at being able to influence people and get people to buy in to the vision.
Yes.
Of where the company or the organization or the family is going.
Joan of Arc was a good leader.
Yeah.
She was a female. Men rallied behind her. Of course, she didn't last too long, but, but I'm just saying. But, I just think if you poll 100 women and ask them, who would you rather work for, a man or a woman? I think the majority of them would say I'd rather work for a man.
Right.
I've worked for females as my managers before, and I enjoy working for them. I've worked for men as my managers before, and I've enjoyed them. But I will say the men I work for, they would stretch the envelope more than a woman would. They would take a chance before a woman would. And maybe because women feel compelled, like, well, if I make a mistake, I'm going to get, kicked too hard. I don't know what their reasoning is, but I'm just saying the men would take that risk. They would step out, quicker than a female would. And so as a guy, you kind of want that, you want somebody that's going to say, look, let's take a chance.
And the the flip side of the coin is, I'm gonna be honest with you, being in a leadership role isn't really fun. When you really sitting down, if you ever been in a leadership role, for people listening, it's not fun.
No.
Most people that are running organizations and things like that, they're doing it because that's what their belief system and they're passionate about. But if you ask them, is this fun? No. Like, I'm willing to bet, Pastor Daniels, if I was to ask you, how many days out of the month do you wake up and you like, man, I've got to go do this. But you motivate yourself, you pray, and you get out of bed, you go do it. But you're leading a church. Mm-hmm. And for the people listening, this is just not I wake up on Sunday morning, preach 2 times, and I go home.
In fact, I'll say this for you. I would much prefer not to be a leader. Not just in church, at home too.
Right.
At home too.
Right.
I would love it if I didn't have to worry about things happening in my home. I would love it as if, when the car needed inspections, it wasn't me that made it happen.
Get it done. Right.
I would love it as if, when things happen with the plumbing, I didn't have to deal with it. The whole 9 yards. I would love it if when the snake crawled in the house, I wasn't the one that had to get the snake out.
Right.
But that ain't what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I hear women complain about things like that, but I say to myself, I wish I had somebody who would take care of me.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, because I run 2 companies. Mm-hmm. I remember when we was having the management meetings at the church, and I was sitting there one day, I said, why did I volunteer for this? I'm already got to lead 2 things. Mm-hmm. Why do I step up for this? Mm-hmm. I said, well, God told me, he led me here, so I'm going to be here. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But when you're already leading something, and I don't need people to understand this, when you're already leading something, usually the last thing a person wants to do is to go back in a leadership role.
Right.
Because most great leaders start out being great followers.
Absolutely.
I'll sit there. Sometimes I've walked to you, Pastor Daines, I'd be like, what do you need me to do? What do you need?
Because you understand.
Right. So what do you need me to do? And then sometimes if I already know what you need, I just go take care of it. Mm-hmm. And they don't even tell you about it.
Right.
And I keep telling the people at the church, hey, do that. He he needs it. Mm-hmm. Don't go ask him about it because you're going to get 1,000 different. Never talk about you in front of your face, Dr. Daniels. Now, everybody going to get a kick out of this. You can ask Dr. Daniels for something or to do something. He is going to give you this long process that you was not expecting to get. Mm-hmm. But if you'd have just went ahead and did it and got the same result, he would have been all right with it.
That's right.
But if you come ask the man what he needs, he's going to tell you exactly how he would do it. And I guarantee you it ain't going to be how you would do it.
99 out of 100, you're absolutely right. And it's simple.
Right.
It's because I do it thinking about more than other people think about. It's like one person may say, like, let's say selecting carpet color. Mm-hmm. One person may just say, it's simple to me. Let's get brown in here. You know what I'm thinking the whole time? This other person, this other lady, whose mother, and she wanted the carpet to be purple. And so am I going to offend her if I go ahead and let you get brown carpet? And Sister Jenkins, she wanted to be the decorator of the church. Now, should I let you decorate that? See, I'm thinking all that kind of stuff is going on in the back of my mind. Whereas the other person's like, hey, brown covers dirt, get brown. That way when they spill something, it's a done deal,
Right.
But I'm thinking about all the other little things that it might impact. Because most people, I'm using a simple example, but just like in your field, other people aren't going to be thinking about all the ripple effects.
Right.
But you'll be thinking the ripple effects, not just the thing that has to take place. And that's what keeps leaders up at night.
Yeah. That ripple effect. Is this going to affect this or this going to affect that?
Right. That's why Obama got gray hair. So quickly. Because the average person just going to make it happen.
Right.
Whereas the manager is thinking about
everything that might happen, you know, and trying to check all those blocks out. I would, you know, leadership is not easy, as you say. It isn't easy. Is a man physically built for it? Well, according to the Bible, he is.
Yeah.
Physiologically, the Bible says a man's body is built to handle pressure.
Right.
And I know women, y'all have babies, and I heard this 100,000 times. Well, you don't know the pressure of having a baby. You're right, I don't. I certainly don't. Never been pregnant. Probably never will get pregnant, you know. So that's life. But that had nothing to do with the price of tea in China on a Thursday. You know, it's that biblically our bodies have been built to withstand more stress. That's what the Bible teaches us.
Yeah. Well, we've covered a lot today, and I think it's a good episode to leave 2019 on. So what's your plans, Dr. Daniels, for 2020?
Well, 2020, you know, we got some interesting things we were trying to I am reorganizing the structure of how the church operates, because it's, you know, we have to start thinking about not just 2020. We have to start thinking about 2030.
Yeah.
And so we're structuring now to cover us for the next 10, restructuring the cover for the next 10 years. Because what I want to make sure we do is needs are generational and needs have changed. And so we want to make sure that we are structured to deal with all the needs of all of our members, you know, in the church and also our community. And, you know, make sure we put most of our effort in to our primary focus, which is getting souls saved. You know, that's the primary thing. So that we're going to be doing that. But at the same time, I'm a year older. And so I want to have a year more fun, you know, as well. So I'm trying to balance those two things at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You know, we don't spend enough time enjoying the gift that God gave us.
Yes.
The very basic gift, which is life and being present in the moment.
Absolutely.
That's why it's called present.
That's it.
All right. Thank y'all so much for joining us. This is your host, CB Baker. Till next time.